people, it's funny, younger generations, they're completely unaware of what I'm talking about because they walked into jiu-jitsu. It was already what it is now, like a commercial practice. Like they missed out on when it was like, I want to say a gang, but not in a bad way. I want to say a tribe. Maybe that's the word, like a tribe. We were like tribal warriors, like fighting for a cause. There's like no one was thinking about being famous or Instagram. I mean, if that came, it was great. Money, everyone likes money, but it wasn't what we were thinking about.
So for the people viewing this, please hit the button down below, give us a like, and then share your questions and comments respectfully. Humorously is fine. And tell us what you think. You have a few more minutes, Robert?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the idea, you have kids, and I mentioned the no chopping woods, no outdoor work with others for the most part. And now we have play dates instead of wandering the countryside or the neighborhoods like when I grew up. Can you share a little bit about raising kids in the modern era? Maybe you had more of that roaming type of a thing when you were in Brazil. I can't remember if you were in an urban area, but share with me some of the thoughts about your youth and how you think kids, even if they grow up in suburbia or an urban area, can be benefited by getting out to the countryside and doing some of these chores instead of doing all this play date to go play with digital equipment and plastic sporting things that they may have purchased or received at Christmas.
Well, thank you for the question, Sifu. I love that question because I was fortunate enough to grow up in Brazil where, I never grew up I was born in Utah, but I was raised in Brazil. I came back to Las Vegas as an adult and I see how children, so I have no memories of Utah. I have many memories of Brazil. And my experience with upbringing in Vegas has been as a parent and watching other parents, not really being a child in Vegas. So, but when I see children in Vegas, I feel bad for them. Vegas has the weather issue too. It's way too hot to go outside. But when I was a kid, there was no concern about being kidnapped or raped. And I don't know if pedophilia wasn't an issue then, if kidnapping wasn't an issue, if violence was a smaller issue, but we weren't thinking about it. And it didn't happen to anyone. Like none of my friends were raped. None of my friends were like kidnapped. We get into fights, but it was always amongst ourselves, the kids, the one block over kids, the enemies, it's always like kids being kids. We'd climb trees and we'd steal, fruit from the neighbor's orchard, like we get in trouble, do stupid things. But it was mainly outdoors. We went inside. When I had a Nintendo, I was the only kid on my block that had a Nintendo, so the kids would come over to play. And there was a little bit of that too. So the beginning of the problem that you're referring to now. But in general, man, we were very free. And I have scars all over my knees. Both my knees are all scarred from falling, so that you get the big cut on the knee from falling. So I have scars on both my knees. I don't see kids with scars on their knees anymore. Yeah. And all kids in Brazil, I remember, they had scars on their elbows and knees. It was completely normal from falling. You fall off a tree, you fall off climbing a wall, you slip, miss your step, you're running, you trip. Very common things. Playing soccer, we played soccer on the street on asphalt, so you trip, you fall, you're going to scrape your knee, you get a scar, I think kids would benefit from some of that. I'm more of like, I don't know. I think it's fine that kids get hurt, fine that kids cry. It's fine that they fight. I think that this over sheltering, I think it started somewhere in the early 90s, late 80s, maybe. I think it's called the self-esteem movement. If you haven't heard of it, do some reading on it. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Children are these little special little things. You can't touch them. They're breakable. They're going to be traumatized. Give them all the freedom they want. Never say no. If they
Participation awards. Participation awards.
Yeah, and it's like, you guys, I know you think you're helping. You have no idea of the damage you have done to these children. They will, thanks to you and your bad parenting, they'll never discover their inner strength. They'll never achieve, they'll never overcome. There'll be a bunch of whiny little babies complain about every little problem they have. And we're watching it now. And it's like, got a name for it now. Right? I don't want to get into politics, but it's everywhere. It's in jiu-jitsu. It's in jiu-jitsu, man. It's in MMA. It's everywhere. Like the lack of accountability, man. So I think that's the thing I miss the most about the old values, the Hai's jiu-jitsu, the accountability. It was so ingrained in the culture to be accountable. Like, you lost, it was you. If you couldn't make weight, it was your fault. It was never the scale. I literally see people blaming the scale when they miss weight. And I'm like, this is insanity. You're blaming the scale for missing weight, right? They lose, they blame me, the coach. They blame their training partners. They blame the rules.
What age group would blame
The
you?
Brazilian referee. That's like my favorite one to make fun of, the Brazilian referee. That's why I lost. It's like, it's laughable. Like, you can't take these guys seriously.
What is the oldest person who's blamed you for their defeat?
Man, I've had people in their 30s do it. Yeah,
Oh.
people in their 30s. I think my generation, I'm 42. I think people younger than me, older than me, are very unlikely to do it.